Improbable heroes. Sports Illustrated named the 1983 NC State Wolfpack's win over number one Houston as the greatest sports moment of the 20th century. So I personally became aware of Jim Valvano and that fabled team in 1993 because of his Espy speech. I was really into sports, mostly because of NBA and Major League Baseball at the time. I was obsessed. And seeing his speech at the ESPYs made me intrigued to know more about him and that team. I'd also seen clips of the 30-ish foot Dereck Whittenburg airball that turned into a Lorenzo Charles dunk, and Jimmy V running around the court frantically looking for somebody to hug many, many times. But it actually wasn't until I recently watched the 30 for 30 deep dive into their run on Netflix until I really could wrap my head around the absolute absurdity and the improbability of their win and what they truly accomplished, leading up to beating number one Houston, led by Hakeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler, household names when I was growing up as a kid. First off, the ACC tournament, they never should have even won, much less even their game against North Carolina, led by a guy named Michael Jordan, who had won the prior year. On top of that, Ralph Sampson of Virginia, the Virginia Cavaliers, and they had to beat them not once in the ACC tournament, but also twice when they faced them again in the NCAA tournament. Somehow they managed to win both games and come from behind fashion, which is the reason that they even made it to the NCAA tournament to begin with. They had lost 10 games, even going into the ACC tournament already in the season, and they're playing teams in the tournament like UNLV that had lost like 2 games. Houston had lost like 2 games going in. They won 9 of their final 13 games by 4 points or fewer. There were several of these games that they were down by double digits at various points in the game, managing to turn it around, sometimes with these ludicrous strategies, seemingly ludicrous strategies, like fouling people in the final moments to force players to go to the line and shoot under pressure. And somehow it worked. Taking risks was part of their story. Jimmy V loved and believed in his players, and they had this incredible team chemistry. And that was one of the things that really came across to me as I watched this. They had gathered together for a reunion of sorts, and talking about these old days, and that was very, very clear. Some of the best Jimmy V quotes: "Don't give up, don't ever give up." That's the one that I remember from the Espy speech. And he also, during that same speech, said, there's 3 things we should do every day. Number 1 is laugh. Number 2 is think. And number 3, in essence, be brought to tears, whether it's laughing out of joy or out of sorrow, because it's an emotion. That's a full day. That's a heck of a day. He also said the most important thing in life is to dare. The most complicated thing in life is to be afraid, and the smartest thing is to be a moral person. He's famously said, cancer can take all my physical abilities. It can't touch my mind, my heart, or my soul. He said, my father gave me the greatest gift anyone could give another person. He believed in me. And I think that's a great lesson out there for people like me as a dad, but also as a leader, believing in your kids, believing in your close friends and family, also believing in the people that you work with and that work for you. He also said there's 86,400 seconds in a day. It's up to you to decide what to do with them. I love that. Think about your favorite heroes. I've definitely seen my heroes at their peaks and at their valleys, both real people, also fictional characters. They're human, right? Those are the stories that resonate most. I've watched my parents age, but their greatness doesn't diminish in my eyes. I've seen my mentors struggle, which makes them even more real. Sometimes even leading to challenging conversations, but believing in the relationship and staying true to the relationship and knowing what you can glean from the great heroes in your life. That's the important thing. I've seen my favorite athletes grow old. Right now I'm actually reading When Nothing Else Matters by Michael Leahy, which is about Michael Jordan's final comeback. Obviously, he's the greatest basketball player of all time, maybe the greatest athlete ever, and the greatest competitor, undoubtedly. And he comes back and he, plays with the Washington Wizards, the third last place team in the NBA the year prior, and gets them within a hair of the playoffs. On hobbled knees, playing over 40 minutes a game some nights. It wasn't spectacular, but he pressed on for love of the game. It didn't tarnish his legacy. Look, I'm going to take a step aside here, because here's the thing. I'm not trying to compare myself to any heroes or improbable heroes, but I am blessed to get a lot of fan mail. I mentor a lot of folks, people that look up to me for whatever reason. I get to lead an amazing team. I get to do what I love doing for the greater good. I get asked to do a lot of shows. I'm on multiple podcasts, and I've been able to interact with and create materials for and present to many, many, many brilliant people around the world. But it didn't start like that. I've been doing this for multiple decades at this point. I grew up in a small town. I had no idea what I wanted to do when I grew up. I've always been one of those people that I was never really good at anything unless I fully committed to it. And there were a lot of things. I shied from commitment for a long time in many, many situations because I didn't want to fail. I was deathly afraid of it. I moved away from that small town on a whim. I lucked into a job a few months later, just thanks to a relationship. And, I decided that I wanted to be the best in my job. It was hard to get out of training. I was one of 2 out of 12 people that even made it out of the training class. But I decided I wanted to be the best, and I made it very, very, very far in my career. Multiple promotions, the youngest director in the company, based on just pure hard work and resilience, pure drive. But even after all that, I had grown selfish, and I masked my massive insecurities with this guise and mask that I was like the next Wolf of Wall Street. I had to be humbled multiple times before learning the infinite value of service, of making it about everybody but you. The best thing that could have ever happened to me, the best blessing, was becoming a dad, because it made me care about and love someone far more than I could ever fathom loving myself. It taught me things that matter greatly: patience and being there for someone else and putting them far above yourself. The best career decision I ever made was to become a consummate team player, always looking to make everybody else around me better. Look, if you can harness what you're great at, or frankly, even just good at, and you use it to solve problems for others and also make everyone else around you better in some way, you can literally do anything. I'm living proof. I am just a small town Midwest guy that lucked into a sales role, made it on hard work, made a lot of mistakes, and kept learning, kept getting up, never quit. As Jimmy V said, be a dreamer. How do you go from where you are to where you want to be? Have an enthusiasm for life, have a dream, have a goal, and you've got to be willing to work for it. And in closing, he also said the future is uncharted territory. It could be anything. So let's not worry about it till it gets here. Focus on the now. Be an improbable hero.